Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Nanolini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 3, Episode 4. I am here with my co-host, Chris Nanolini.
Greetings, Earthlings!
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to another show. Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Mick, doing awesome. It's hot, it is summer, and I am loving it.
Oh, yeah, this is full-on heat humidity type of thing.
Yes.
Heat humidity at its finest.
Yep. Loving it, bro. Loving it. Spent a couple of, did a couple day trips down the shore, down the Jersey Shore, and soaking up that beach therapy, and it's great, man. I just love summer. I just do. I love it.
Yeah, I love the heat, and I love the sun. Days that we haven't had the sun, I just kind of, it just doesn't work well for me. So it's
no, me neither.
I like being outside, sitting outside, kind of connecting that way. But when we're trapped in for the winter, I don't know. So my retirement is definitely geared towards sun, and sun. That's my location. And it's got to be warm. I'm sick of the cold weather. We've talked about this before. So it's summertime.
Yeah, brother. Definitely, man.
So tonight we are going to do our own editorial, our own perspective, our own feelings and feedbacks for the recent A&E Kiss documentary. Did you see it? If you haven't, A&E's been running it nonstop all summer since June 26th. It's pretty much taken up everything, including their YouTube channel, which they've taken the documentary over 2 nights and split it up into 6-minute segments, part 1 to part infinity. So if you haven't seen it, check it out. But you're going to hear our review, as we've talked about in previous episodes, many episodes. We are Kiss fans, true and true. We like it, we hate it, we love it, we don't. It's all the same. We're Kiss fans, and we're going to talk about it. Chris, what do you think, buddy? What were your thoughts?
Man, I loved it. I think they did one hell of a job. They really, really did. I watched it twice. Looking back on it, there were some things that they left out that I wish, they would have maybe touched on, but nothing that changed my opinion of the documentary. I think it was killer. One of the things that stand out to me a lot was, and this just could be my own headcanon, I always felt that the relationship with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley was always more on the Gene Simmons side. I am sure he is very hard to get along with, but as Paul's grown older, it kind of seems like he has really become difficult to, be friendly with. But I felt with the documentary, I felt that it proved to me, and this is in my opinion, that for the longest time, Gene Simmons loved Paul Stanley more than Paul Stanley loved Gene Simmons. And it wasn't until this documentary where Paul had some very, very complimentary things to say about Gene Simmons. There were some things in Paul's book that he said about Gene that kind of made me sad, because I always had this vision that, him and Gene were the tightest of friends and they were brothers to the end. And, you read some of the stuff that Paul put in his book about Gene, and I was a little disappointed. But, there was a couple of things that stood out to me that Paul said, especially the one thing, I think it was towards the end, where he said, I don't know if I would be where I am without you. And I hope you feel the same about me. And I was like, wow, man, that's really powerful words to say to somebody. The opinions I've had about Paul Stanley in the past 2 years really kind of changed when I saw this documentary. I feel that both him and Gene, really, I kind of feel like their egos were, even though Gene did talk about his ego, which is always funny to me, I felt like their egos were kind of in check. They said what they had to say, but it was really about this team that Paul and Gene really had. I mean, obviously Paul carried the ship of Kiss for pretty much its lifetime, and that was proven by Gene kind of getting reprimanded by Paul saying, listen, like, do you want to be here or don't you? So for me, it really kind of shone a light on Paul's love for Gene, that I always felt like Gene kind of loved Paul a little more, maybe respected him a little more. I don't know. I always looked at it like a big brother thing, Gene being the younger brother, not necessarily in age, just in personality. And where he always complimented Paul, but Paul really never said a lot of nice things about Gene. So it was nice to see. It was nice, in my opinion, to see that Paul did have some very, very deep feelings for Gene and saying it in front of Gene on camera. And I thought that was very, very cool because, Gene will always have that, God forbid, if something were ever happen to Paul, and vice versa.
I know what you're saying. I get, in recent years since Paul released his first autobiography, he came out and he pretty much was vocal about a lot of what was happening, I guess, in terms of his perspective and some of the feelings on the situations regarding Gene's involvement or uninvolvement, so to speak. I know what you're saying, and I guess it can be looked at as like that, especially, the past 3 or 4 years, there's been a lot of sound bites in terms of how he's taken shots at Gene Simmons. However, some of them were, Gene also has a way of saying certain quotes that seem to kind of get plucked out by the media, whether they're either taken out of context, misconstrued, or he's just saying them because he's not policing what he's saying. There was a point there you could tell Paul was kind of separating himself or distancing himself, especially around like 2015, 2016, kind of, hey, this isn't necessarily my views or the views of the band just because Gene said them. Because at one point he had said, listen, I may be the star child, but Gene Simmons has always been the face of
the
Kiss.
Face. Yeah, I thought that was super cool.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think that Paul ever underestimated or took for granted or didn't acknowledge the importance of Gene's role, on stage and off stage. And I think where this, and again, this is just my perspective, I think that it was a compounding of discontent, maybe disappointment, as he matured. And you could tell, like, if you read his book, he definitely was somewhat of an unhappy inner soul until he found the right person who treated him as such for him to really enjoy life in a different kind of way. Right? Yeah. And I think that then that builds up this confidence in him to kind of maybe speak more of his heart. And I think when someone reaches that level, sometimes they're so overcome by it, they're saying all this stuff. And they feel, well, I now have the right to say this. And again, as they mature to get to that point to actually speak their point of view in a way, I think that there's a maturity that takes place once you get there until you kind of work things out. And, especially in the past year and a half, 2 years, Paul Stanley had been very vocal, and we discussed this as well, about the COVID situation, about the politics of this country and stuff like that. And, they're at an age, they're at a tax bracket, and a time in life where they feel that they, this greatly affects them, and it greatly affects all of us. Don't get me wrong, but some people like to voice it a little bit more, and then they use and we talked about this in a podcast. It was un-Kiss related, but we talked about artists using their platforms for sometimes personal agenda. Yeah, political, social, economical, so on and so forth. Charities, we see that all the time. I think that there was some resentment that had built up over time, and then this is how it came out. It reared its head, and I think that the autobiography gave him the confidence to speak the way he spoke and said the things that he said. Now, was he coming from an ill-hearted place? I don't know. The thing about, you had mentioned, maybe Gene loved Paul more than Paul loved Gene. I don't know if that's the case. Gene may have just been oblivious to the fact of that there was all this going on, because
that's so true.
Yeah, I mean, Gene has even said himself, his ego had been so self-consuming.
Yeah,
it was like it was like he was a lion on the prowl, and it was like, who could he get? What could he conquer? And it becomes that kind of idea, and he may be missing some subtle clues that are going around. Now, it also, their communication may have been different. It probably grew over time, When things are going right, it's easy. When things are going bad, it gets harder. And that's just human nature. I did enjoy the one-on-one personal talks.
Oh.
And I wish they did that a little bit more.
I love to see the two of them just sitting on the couch and like Gene kind of interviewing Paul. Like, I kind of liked that. It was an interesting way to go through their history. I wish we could see footage where Paul was interviewing Gene. I could have watched 4 hours of that, really, like just going back and forth and them just kind of questioning each other and giving answers. I would have. I mean,
listen, I could have done a whole week, a whole month. They played it again right after. I watched it again.
I watched it twice,
when the documentary ended, I was excited and sad at the same time. It's like, man, this is. I said to myself, I go, if they come around again, I think maybe I'm going to, maybe I should go just in case. You know what I mean? Because, like, listen, when it started, right, when the documentary started. Now, listen, a lot of that stuff I had read or known. There was a couple little things, some new pictures, but what was really cool is you got some quick cuts of like their input rather than just the history that we're used to hearing. And, again, Kiss fans knew a lot of this. But anyway, so it starts, and I could feel the excitement. I got excited. I got excited for being a Kiss fan. I got excited for being a guitar player. I'm saying, well, man, if they could do it, maybe I could do it. And I'm already past the prime, like way past the prime. And I'm like, I can still do that. This is exciting, man. I just need one shot. You could feel that. And I liked, now, whether that was intentional or that's just because, I'm still that, 10-year-old kid, or it was built into the story, I think it drove the whole documentary. The 2 nights, there was that excitement that was happening. Even though you knew the story and you knew what was going to happen, you know who's leaving, you know who's there now, but you want to hear it again. You want to talk about it. To me, that was really exciting, and I just wish it was longer. I mean, there were some things they did skip over, like they didn't talk about, them going to Cadillac, Michigan, and doing all that with the football team. They kind of showed you some pictures of it, but they skipped over that.
Yeah, they didn't really touch on when they went to Japan for the first time and that craziness.
Yeah, and that would have been really cool. They didn't talk too much about Australia, and and again, I mean, like if you're gonna have a documentary, and I've always said this, it's you just got to do it. I mean, at this point in time, they've made their bones. Listen, if you say the truth and say, look, we went to Australia because we weren't doing anything in America, that was 40 years ago, that isn't going to change how I am about, listen, I'll take that $1 if I was them. Yeah. Like, who cares?
Exactly.
Right. If you made all this money in one city, why go anywhere else? I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's what, it's not going to change how I feel about the band. Like, that's awesome. They got to do this. It's amazing. So I wish there was more of that. And, of course, I think that most of the old school fans were bummed. It was kind of saddening that Ace and Peter just did not get involved. I mean, I know there was the talk about, they couldn't pay me enough and they didn't this. And Peter wouldn't allow them the use of Beth and all this.
Mick, how do you ask for Final Cut?
Yeah,
you haven't been in the band in 20, 30 years. How do you go, hey, man, I want Final Cut? Are you crazy?
Yeah. I don't understand where they get all that. Listen, here's the thing. They were shown with as much respect as they possibly could, right? They were constantly titled as co-founder of the band. It's never been not said that they weren't co-founders of the band, that they were instrumental in the band's success in those first 8 years. I mean, come on. Both Paul and Gene have talked about it nonstop. Yeah, they talked about all the problem areas, but problem areas are problem areas. I mean, so did they didn't exist? If it was all BS or if it was all inflated, this was your opportunity to come on. And don't talk to me about, we do things for the fans. No, you should have been in that documentary for the fans. 100%. That's the way I look at it.
You're using interviews from like 2002 and 1996 and 1994.
Right, because they're in the catalog. They're in the Kiss catalog. They own those something.
Yeah, okay, I could maybe be okay with maybe you didn't want to be in the same room with them.
Yeah.
Childish.
Right.
But I can move past it. Yeah. But at least
if you guys are so much buddies, then be in the same room and talk about it, right? But you have to be honest. Like, if you're going to bitch, then you need to come clean about your own hang-ups. And the documentary isn't the two of them on Eddie Trunk and like, I don't want to hear that. It's because it's all one side. This was their in my opinion. Yes, Kiss probably, Paul and Gene still had final say and all, but this was the opportunity for them to really speak their piece and let the fans really know and show them that they're bigger. They're like, if you want a part of it, take your piece, be the bigger person. I mean, I think it would have been so cool to have that included, and I think that was the only bummer of it. However, I overlooked it after a while. I was like, well, listen, that's, what are you going to do, man? I mean, they're not here. They're not here. They haven't been here. What are you supposed to do? The band decided to go on. Apparently, they were paid for a lot of years after, so it's not like they were kind of just, thrown off the face of the earth. They made plenty of loot from it, and then they were made millionaires again when they came back for the reunion tour.
Mick, I will never understand it, man. I don't understand this. The two of them, I feel like it's more Peter than Ace, but I just don't understand the entitlement that these guys feel like they should have. Yes, there is a portion of entitlement because they are original, and I am totally behind that. But in 2021, you're not that entitled. Like, sit down. And like you said, speak your piece, man. Like the documentary was a celebration of the career of Kiss. You were part of that history. You have many great things. Why, especially Peter? How could you not let them use Beth? Like, are you kidding me? It's one of their biggest songs ever.
I hear you.
And you sang on it.
Right. If
you
want to shine,
waving that flag.
Right. If you want to shine a light. If the ego's that much, if you want to shine a light on your own career, your own accolades, then you should have been on the show because people would have 100%. Been talking about it, and they would have 100%. Watched you all summer. Because, 100%. Like I said at the beginning, A&E's that's all they're playing. I think they're going to give up on all programming until like fall comes. Their YouTube channel is nothing but Kiss. I get it, right?
Mick, do you have any idea? Because I didn't look it up, and I didn't think to look it up till we were just sitting here. Do you have any idea when some of that was recorded? I mean, did these interviews? I mean, are we going back 2 years? I mean, some of it started.
I read an article. This was months ago. Some of this started prior to COVID.
Well, yeah, I figured that because there was shots of them like going into the studio with masks on, so right. I wasn't sure if it was like the whole thing was during COVID or if it was before and during, or are we going back a couple years? Like, I wasn't sure how long this thing had been in the
I think some stuff had started in 2019 before the end of the
right.
Right, and then stuff was held on, stopped.
Yeah.
And I think they did stuff earlier this year as well. Now, I may be completely wrong, but I'm just telling you some things that I read on, But what I've learned is, just like with the rest of the podcast, we just make the shit up just to fill in time and space. So who the hell knows? You can tell there was, like, Paul looked a little different, too. You could tell some changes there and things like that. Like I said, I really enjoyed it, and it was really cool. I mean, again, they touched upon a little bit of Vinny, but not a lot. And, it would have been interesting.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked by that.
Yeah, it would have been interesting to have Vinny on there for some stuff. But at the same time, I don't think he's granting anybody interviews right now. He's just someplace else. I think his most recent posting release of some sort is he's got a compilation album coming out, or he's going to charge people $6 million a piece for because he's got to pay for some debt or something. I don't know, something crazy like that. But
this is Stephen Pearson from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
I mean, obviously, Vinnie Vincent was in, he was there for a while, and they just touched upon his time in the band. And, Mark St. John, obviously, he was only there for a cup of coffee. They just kind of touched on him. And even Eric Carr, I kind of felt like he probably should have had a little more time.
I was going to say
with the band a long time. Now, listen, there could be 20 more hours of footage that they just didn't use, and maybe he's mixing that footage, and they did a nice dedication to him. I thought it was very well done, considering that there were so many things with their relationship in his last days. And
not just in his last days, in the last number of years. And I know that the family was angered that they showed up to the funeral. And I actually had an opportunity to interview Eric Carr's sister, Rhett, who pretty much takes care of the estate and all that kind of stuff. There is supposed to be another documentary coming out about Eric and his overall music career. There is something out there that's been on the web for a while.
Long time.
Tale of the Fox or something
Tale
like that.
Tale of the Fox, yeah.
You know, that's kind of an interesting thing, and you learn some stuff about him. But I think there was some... And they wanted to carry it even past, what's been happening in that estate over the last 20 years and so. But I expected them to do a little bit more since, he was there just about 10 years. And being that he was the first replacement guy, there's a lot to that,
Yeah.
And even Paul had said at one point, that, and again, listen, you can justify anything. You can find a justification for one thing or another depending on your point of view or your stand. He had gotten to the point where, and he said this several times, like, well, what were we going to do? After a while, have Chicken Man and Rooster Man and all this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And I think that's where people, that's where some people kind of have this dividing line. And again, are they attached to the makeup? Are they attached to the player? Are they attached to the sound? I don't know. I mean, I understand what he's saying. Like, it's that original 4 that really made the makeup what it is. But, the original of a lot of stuff is like that.
Yeah.
Usually when it's been recast or remolded or upgraded, deluxe version, sometimes the deluxe version just isn't as good as that raw original version, right? And they're dealing with a lot of people that have nostalgia tied to it. And again, this is just my opinion from what I've seen. I think most of the people that do most of the lip service about Ace and Peter are the greatest, man. They're the greatest. How many albums did they have? Come on. Right. Ace has done more stuff in the past 10 years than he did prior to. You know what I mean?
I know. They didn't even play on some of the Kiss records.
Yeah, and listen, I love Ace. Ace is one of my favorite guitar players. He's a guy, I dig it. Maybe as a person, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know any of them. They all could be, whatever the case may be. But I don't know. It's one of those things. You have this body of work, right? And a lot of times, and Gene had said it in the show. Marriages break up, friendships break up. Yeah. So on and so on. Yeah. But people expect bands to live forever as they are. I think that the people that are given most lip service are those original fans that have this nostalgia. They're locked into nostalgia, right? I don't, like younger fans, like today fans of Kiss, I don't think they give a rat's.
They don't care. They could care less.
And listen, you can't, these are good players. I mean, there's no two ways about it. You know what I mean? You go with what the flow is. Like, I go back to what John Lennon said when someone says, how was Pete Best as a drummer and his compared to Ringo? He said Pete Best was a good drummer and Ringo's a great Beatle. So sometimes the playing is it could be secondary to what energy you bring to the table. If you're a team player, if it's positivity all the way, or you could be the greatest singer and you come to the table and you're just a miserable SOB where the ego is just this. And I've had plenty of that. I mean, I had somebody in the studio, they were going to join the team and just right out of the gate. I mean, fantastic singer. Oh my God. I mean, quality, especially for what we. Just not the person that I wanted to, even
surround yourself with.
Yeah, I didn't even want to be next to a urinal peeing with him. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's pretty bad.
You are listening to The Cosmic Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
These guys have flip-flopped about a lot of different things. Oh, if I didn't leave the band, I was going to die. Well, listen, is that the band's fault or is that how you choose to live your life fault? You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
And then when he got fired, Peter, there was, he wrote about how sad he was. That feeling that he had shooting that last video, Shandy video, that was it. That's the last time he worked with him. He got, and he knew it. And, and he was distraught. And early on, when they got back together for the reunion, he said, I know I had some bad whatever, and I, changed it. But that only lasted another year or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it wasn't long.
And, what, is it a money thing? Is it an ego thing? Is it a combination? Is it that? those demons constantly rear their heads. There's just, this is a wacky business. This is a wacky business to begin with. But I agree with what you're saying. Like, I know where you come from when you say, what gives these people the right to say they want to do this when they haven't been around?
That's right. They weren't around when they were in the band.
Yeah, well, I mean, in that second half of their earlier, they started to kind of, But, again, these guys still toured. They did, and here's the truth of the matter. As fans, whether, you're a hardcore fan or a casual fan, we really don't know the truth because we weren't there, right? If it was that bad, how do you... Because I always look at these, like, now being privy to all this insider information from, and you're looking at the older footage of them and you're saying, well, they all look like they're having a decent time. They're still putting their makeup on together. They're not, they haven't singled themselves out like some artists do or bands do and all that. How bad was it? You know what I mean? Was it bad in one person's perspective over another? Because again, I've been there where I've been like, oh, this is horrible, but the other person doesn't see it the same way that I do, or the other people. Yeah. And so it becomes relative, right? In a way. So,
100%.
But like you had said, this would have been their opportunity to talk about it.
Yep.
And I mean, it would have been awesome to have a little round table, even if they argued a little bit, little couple beep, beep, beep. That kind of would have been, again, if it's part of the celebration and you were really trying to, I think that would have been amazing. I think you would have gotten 3 nights out. I mean, this would have been like the old ABC in the late 70s, like a Shogun week or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Brother, you could have put all of them at a table. Mark, Tommy, Eric, Singer. Like, you could have put all of them at a table and just talked it out.
Yeah.
Like, just talked about your time in Kiss. Now, here's another thing, too. And it's funny because, when they were talking about Mark, or when they were talking about Bruce and Eric being in the band, and they did that MTV acoustic thing, I always think back to what Ripper Owens one time said, and I'm paraphrasing. He knew he was just a fill-in. It was just going to be a matter of time before Halfer was back in. Like, he knew it. In the back of his head, he knew it. Because, listen, money talks. As people get older, you see things differently, like you were saying. Everybody's got a different perspective. So here they go to Mark and they go to Eric and go, hey, listen, we're going to do this MTV thing. Are you cool with it? And they go, yeah, like, totally. It'll be awesome. It'll be fun. At that point, when everybody's on stage, how the hell do you not go, yeah, this is the end?
Yeah.
Look,
oh, well, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
everybody's getting along. Everybody's rocking out. I'm done. Like, my gig is over.
Eric Singer definitely knew it. He go, okay, that's it. It's done. Yeah,
because what Paul said, he's like, I think Eric was hurt the most. And by Eric's own admission, he was like, yeah, like, he was really hurt and devastated. And listen, I get it. I would feel the same way. But in the back of your head, you got to know, eventually, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to, especially when we see it more now as we get older, because people do, and egos are sometimes put aside for money. And they go, hey, man, let's make a ton of money and let's just do this. We don't even have to see each other until we're 2 hours on stage. Let's figure it out. When that reunion happened, I'm thinking, how did they not know that this thing was going to happen?
Yeah.
Or maybe they did know and they didn't say it, but Bruce kind of said, he wasn't. I don't know if he actually said he wasn't surprised, but I feel that since Eric was hurt the most, I kind of feel like he maybe didn't see it coming. Like, how do you not see this coming?
Well, from what I understand, Bruce was offered to stay on as an employee of the band, even, to, like, he could have stayed on and still gotten paid, and he chose not to. He figured, well, I'm going to go do my own thing, but hey, he's still involved in a lot of Kiss stuff. He does a lot of Kiss,
course.
So
I
mean, how can you not be, right?
I
actually had an opportunity to interview him too, and I asked him. I said, I says, out of everybody that's been in Kiss, I go, it seems that your tenure had the less drama, and he laughed. And he goes, well, and politically very well, he sidestepped, and he goes, I'm not really sure about that. I just got up there and, and stuff like that. But really, in my opinion, if you think about it, besides, that he was on the wings during the Mark St. John time, and, and I think it's come down to that Mark St. John maybe did about 6 shows all in all. Some of them both him and Bruce did. But, because there is some footage and some photographs of him on stage with the band. And again, that was a band being, ready to get precautious, right? I mean, like it's a business. You're putting on the show. You don't want to disappoint your fans. I mean,
it's your living.
Yeah, I even read something that during the '80s they had another backup guitar player off stage filling in for Paul when he would, get up there and start doing his dancing and his jungle gym routine and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes they just turn that volume down. Hey, listen, again, you're putting on a good show. What do you want to hear? A guy and he's trying to sit, So I don't know, but like I said, I think it was a great documentary. I wish it was so much longer, but I bet you in good Kiss form, when they release that on DVD, there is going to be a giant box set with a lot of other stuff. And maybe, just maybe, they'll have a bonus CD with Ace and Peter on it because they'll come to their realization and go, you know what, maybe I should be a part of this. Any check would be good. They want me to appear on it? Huh? I will. $10, you got me.
And this goes to the business side of it. I wish that I had as much stuff of my career that they did. And if you think about the stuff they have, whether it be Gene or Paul or the company, whatever it may be, the footage, the picture, like the footage to me is unbelievable that they have footage from when they showed Kiss's first gig.
Yeah.
Like with Ace and Peter, and I'm like, I wish I had my first gig. Like, I wish I had all that stuff. And it just goes to show you how smart Bill Coyne was, or whoever it was, whether it be Gene or Paul, whoever. It goes to show you how smart they were because they have all that footage at their fingertips.
Sean Delaney, right? He was the one that started filming them
right.
early on, simply just so they could see what they were doing. Yeah,
right.
They have a warehouse of stuff.
Dude, and to have that stuff...
A warehouse. Not a garage, not a room, not a storage facility. They have a warehouse that they have to go, and it's cataloged. They have people that work there. It's not like I go and I got to go turn on the lights myself. They go, and there's a receptionist.
Right. I just wish that I was that forward-thinking and have stuff like that. Because I know, and I'm sure you too, I know that you and I have probably forgotten gigs that we've played, or, because I know, like, sometimes I'll randomly come across a flyer and go, I don't remember doing this show, but my name's on the flyer.
Right.
So I just wish that I had that stuff, and to their benefit, man, God bless them for having all that stuff and for having the wherewithal to keep it and not get lost. I mean, listen, Kiss has been around 40 years now at this point? Is that what their anniversary is?
No, 72. It's 50 years next year.
Almost 50, okay.
Yeah.
And listen, you and I have had this conversation on another podcast. These guys have been through it all. I mean, they've been through members and members. I mean, if you just think about their entire roster on top of the guys that just played on the records, on top of producers and engineers, and Paul and Gene have literally been through it all. And it's amazing to me that in 2021, going into 2022, that they are still together. That just says a lot about the business side of what they do and the longevity of what they've built. It's crazy to me that them guys, what they've been through, and they stuck through it, man. Through the highs and the lows, they stuck through it. I mean, even stuff that they admittedly go, yeah, that was dumb, or we probably shouldn't have done that, or whatever. They stuck through it, man, and here they are, and it's amazing to me.
What I find to be amazing is somebody or some group with a 50-year career that these guys still have to kind of not the word
defend themselves.
Yeah, defend themselves, prove themselves, demonstrate that they're whatever, but because they're an easy shot. Because they are out there and trying things. Listen, not everything's a home run. However, it's not like they're, say their low point in their career, they still didn't have to go out and get a job at a factory, right?
Yeah.
Right, with a little lunch box. They didn't, you know what I mean? So it's perspective, right? It's relative to the situation. Was it like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do? And so, the whole world, the industry was changing. So, what was then is not now. But they found a way around it, and they admitted it. Listen, they were just another another band at that time. But listen, here's the thing: Kiss never went back. They never went back to being an opening band. How many bands have done that? They were
many, if not all.
Right. A small time in their life, they had to go to smaller. Listen, all bands experienced shit, man. It was us and the sound man, baby. Us and the sound man. How you doing, George? Can you hear us back there? Thanks for being here tonight. And you know what I mean?
Brother, their lowest concert attendance was thousands of people.
Yes.
My lowest concert attendance is literally 0.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Nobody there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure they didn't play a Monday night to nobody. So, again, it's relative, right? But, I mean, they found a way around it. And throughout the 80s, they were playing the Spectrum here in Philly. It's not like they went and all of a sudden they're playing, I don't know. They're at Joe's Tavern on 75th Street. I don't know if it exists or not. I'm just making it. I'm trying to not point anybody out, and then I get a bad email. But they were still, like, when they came to Philly, they played the Spectrum. And I don't remember them playing the Spectrum Theater.
No.
Nope. So,
no.
So they found a way around it. And then, all of a sudden, they had this surge, man, from Revenge, gave them this little boost. And like you said, that reunion thing, I mean, listen, with all these bands, it's going to happen. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they'll figure out something, right? Whether it's, like you said, it's the payday or whatever the case may be. It's that, whatever. Like I said, I think it would have been a good opportunity for the other guys to, like I said, Vinnie Vincent didn't necessarily have to be. He was on, it was such a short time and so... I know they say it's significant, but at the same time, was it as significant as you think? I don't know. I really don't know. Because there was even some debate on how much did he really do on Creatures of the Night compared to these other artists.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't know. And like I said, it would have been good to have... I mean, even Ace now says he may have played on Creatures of the Night, where for years he wasn't. And,
Right.
There's some producers go, I think Ace was on that. So nobody knows. Nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows.
Yeah. So, you know what I mean? And so how much of the story is reality? How much of it is an intoxicated reality or a fabricated reality for someone just to get through what it is that they're doing or, stay on their soapbox? I don't know, but that would have been an opportunity. All that aside, I thought it was done really well, tasteful. I remember when A&E was called Arts and Entertainment. And you used to watch it years ago on the early cable days. You would watch Broadway shows and classical movies that nobody would want to watch. And then they realized, that isn't going to sell for us. So they changed it to A&E, and now they bring Kiss on, which was, I think, something cool to do.
It was very cool to do, man. It really was. It was, when I saw it, when it was first announced, I'm like, wow, that's going to be really interesting. And at the end of it, I'm like, man, that was a great 4 hours or 3, 4, 5, whatever
absolutely.
It was, 4 hours of great.
Yeah, it had me excited.
Television.
Yeah, it had me excited, man. Like it made me excited to be an artist. For guys like us in the trenches, indie artists, that's an uphill battle all the time.
All the time.
So, I mean, if your heroes could still do that for you, that's fantastic. Apparently there's talk about Netflix doing a Kiss biopic, kind of like they did for Molly Crew and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that would be really interesting as well. And they made, because for the dramatic effect, they may dive in a little bit more to some of the. I can't see them necessarily doing the whole 50 years. Maybe they'll do a chunk, and then they do that quick fast forward to the end or something like that.
Yeah.
Who knows? But like I said, at the end of that documentary, there was a bit of a sadness because it's like. My whole existence, Kiss has been there.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
The last
you're right.
The last time I seen them I seen them twice on the end of the road in 2 different places. I was like, I don't want to go because this may be it. Like I could feel it. It was in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if there was pre-recorded tracks or there was guys behind the curtain. Pay no attention to them. It didn't matter. It's just that, the entity that we know as Kiss is, possibly coming to an end. And for fans, that's a bummer.
It is. Especially when the cool stuff really kind of starts to come out in the end, because it's the end. So you're wrapping everything up. You're putting a nice little bow on it.
Yeah.
And this documentary really, it probably put a lot of Kiss passion back in a lot of fans that maybe forgot about them, or maybe moved on, or just weren't really paying attention. And you see the documentary, you go, oh yeah,
That's right, yeah.
kind of forgot how much I really dug Kiss. And now you're back in, and there comes a point where, like you had said perfectly, is there, there's this sadness that follows you, because it's the end. And especially with Paul Stanley's Soul Station record coming out, that's in his rear view, that's ahead of him. He's
right.
kind of Kiss in the rear view, and Soul Station's the hood ornament at this point. Like, he's looking forward. He's just waiting to be done with Kiss, and it's sad. It is very sad.
They look like two healthy men. I think they're going to be around a lot
they
longer.
Look great.
I think that the business of Kiss is going to be around a lot longer. I think there's a lot of things that fans are probably that there's going to be in store. I think there's going to be a lot of other releases, not new stuff, but packages and things like that. And in terms of them performing, I don't know. Maybe that's where it, maybe they do it. They're going to do an official franchise. I don't know. There's a lot of tribute bands making money off them, so maybe they may do it their way. And
right.
You got
have their name on it.
Yeah, you got Gallagher 1, Gallagher 2. So who knows?
That's it, man. That's it. People go see it because people pay to see holograms.
Yeah, they see holograms, and they see professional tribute versions of that band. That all of a sudden that band became a tribute band of themselves. So there's a lot of that happening, and I'm not even sure I would explain that correctly, but I think people know what we're saying. Again, not trying to. This is about Kiss, people. That's about it. I'm sure there's other things, but I think they were the high points, and I'll probably watch it a dozen more times, because that's pretty much A&E's programming till September. And check it out if you missed it, and let us know what you thought about it, and if we were off base or on base, or neither of us play baseball, so we're not sure what bases we're on to begin with.
Only bases I know is women.
Yeah, well, I know a couple bass players. That's about it. So. If you like this show, check out some of our other content, like all our other episodes of Season 1 and Season 2, plus that extra content of Cosmuck and Junk, and Cosmos Top of the Heap List. And everything is always on at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Thanks so much for listening. This is The Cosmic Voice. If you have a question, a topic idea, or something you want us to address, just contact us through our Facebook page at The Cosmic Voice, or visit us at our official website, www.thecosmicvoice.com. You can listen to The Cosmic Voice at Spotify, Breaker, Apple, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, and at thecosmicview.com.
Okay, folks, that will do it for another episode of The Cosmic Voice. Mick and I would like to say thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
You're listening to The Cosmic Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.